I don't believe there's going to be a crash. So those people that are waiting for a crash are going to be left behind.
Yeah.
I kept saying, if you're looking to buy, I was saying in November, December, January, February, you should be buying if there's something you like. And my clients that listened to me, I had 3 of them like in December and January, they bought, they're ecstatic. The prices have all gone up. They're ecstatic right now.
Welcome back for a brand new episode of the DC Talks podcast with David Chinelli. We're back in the building with the main man himself, DC.
What's up, buddy?
Good, man. How you doing?
So far away from you over there.
I'm so far away. I feel like very close. I think this is the closest because usually I used to be back here.
Yeah,
when I'm potting with you. But
yeah, they're changing the camera angles to make us look better. I don't know if it's working.
Yeah, it's making your jawline looking good.
Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll see what happens. Maybe it's a little bit tan from vacation. Maybe that'll help. A little bit longer beard. Who knows?
You're still looking mint, man. How's the vacation?
It was good. It's good to get away. Went for 9 days. It's in Mexico. So it's always good. I never tell people when I'm away, just to worry about, even though we have people watching the house and stuff too, you just always worry about criminals, especially what's been happening here in the GTA and, Brampton, Mississauga, all those
people stealing your cars.
Yeah, and so just we're going to be careful. So I always tell the wife, we don't post anything when me and Natalie never post until we get back.
Until you get back. Yeah. Because you never know. People get ideas.
Yeah. And you wouldn't even know, because when I'm on vacation, I have all my videos ready to go, and Julia's doing all the work on behind the scenes, and
business as usual.
Business as usual. I record more videos before I leave, and you saw when I recorded the market update from Mexico.
I was like, oh man, DC's dedicated.
Yeah. Well, the stats came out the second day we were there, and I told Julia, I'm like, okay, I'll create the script. I'll tell you which ones you say. I'll say which ones I say. And she was I'm like, go to my house. You have you have all the ring lights and everything set up. You can use my mics. Just do that. That's what she did. And then Natalie did a good job recording me, so she didn't shake too much. So which is good.
Did you do a Stages Corner in Mexico?
We were supposed to, but Natalie's just, Natalie doesn't love doing Stagers Corner. She doesn't. It's like pulling teeth, and it's like I always have to find topics. And even now, like today's Wednesday, and we were supposed to have one yesterday. She's like, we got back. She's like, I'm not in the mood. I'm like, okay. So we just use some old ones. We have a lot of content too. Like we can go back years. Like we started doing that 3-4 years ago. So we have a lot of content.
And you can even recycle some old posts.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what we do is in case you missed it, we whatever she doesn't want to do one, we'll just throw in case you missed it. And there's still valid points. It's not like her staging has changed, right? There are different markets which it does change over the very slight things we've talked about, but not really, right?
Yeah. Before moving on, one thing about the vacation, do you ever get vacation apathy? Like, for example, when I went to Mexico, I think after the 4th day, because you mentioned that you were 9 days, I stayed there for 7.
Yeah.
You kind of start feeling like, I got to go back home now. I'm kind of getting tired of this. Like you get lost in paradise. You're like, I just want to get back to reality. Did you get a sense?
Yeah, I do. Well, also when I go away, I bring my laptop and I work. So it's even I tell my clients too, I'm away, but because now we're virtually, touchable, I guess you can say the word is because we're always connected, right? So while I'm away, even while I was away, I worked on a couple of deals. Yeah. It was it always happens. Yeah. And that just happened. We go away in February because the market is usually slower. Usually it's more of leases as opposed to sales. And that's, other than, 2022, that was the market. That's why we like to go in February. But when it gets around 8 days, because I'm because I've been pushing people off of it, because I still get messages. Can you wait till I get back? Can you wait till I get back? And then by the point I'm like, fuck, I just want to go back. Okay. And by the 9th day, I was ready to go. Yeah. So the airline actually changed our flight. We were supposed to fly out on the 8th, sorry, at 8:00 at night. So we'd have the whole day to stay in the hotel and do all that stuff. And they changed it to 12. So we basically had to leave 8:00 in the morning. I'm like, I'm fine with that. Let's just get out of here.
Yeah. And you're dragging.
Yeah. We landed at 4:00. We got home. We went to Harvey's, had some food because we didn't eat it all day. Because you're basically by the time you get on the plane, we already implement fast, so just didn't feel like eating before you got on the plane. And off the plane, I'm like,
you're just over it at the end. You're let's
just
get back to Toronto.
So it's good to get back.
Yeah, good to have you back. We had a lot of success filming our market update episode last time. The way this started, ladies and gentlemen, is DC had a live where he was talking about the market updates. A lot of people got feedback, so we're gonna start doing this a lot more, just giving some updates on what's going on, specifically what the news is reporting and what the reality of the situation is.
You guys know how much I love the news.
Love the news. Toronto Star, Block TO, Toronto Sun. You know who you are. You know the writers. The same recurring characters all the time. Yeah. But recently, the Toronto Star and some other articles, predominantly the Toronto Star, came out with a market update saying that the buyer's market has evaporated. It's gone.
Well, this is hilarious. I'm away on vacation, and this is a precursor why we're talking about this. And this article came out. What day was it that it came out? I don't know, as soon as the article hit, I think it was like on February 5th or something like that. One of my clients, which we've been trying to time the market for him a little bit, even though you're not supposed to time the market, but for sale you can time it a little bit more. He doesn't need to leave, but wants to maximize.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh my God, like we're gonna need to act on this fast. Like, look, the buyer's market is gone, so maybe we can act on it." I'm like, whoa, slow down. Like, did you actually read the article? And I'm like, sure. So it talks about, in this article, it was like Toronto real estate market roars back to life, ending a short-lived buyer's market. I'm like, really?
It roars back to life. What does roaring back to life mean? And
yeah, not to mention too, it's like, were any of these so-called writers, let's call them writers, what are they talking about that this so-called buyer's market's gone? There are certain pockets in Toronto which have had, even in Mississauga, we've had they've seen multiple offers. And we were talking about this off air. So especially Toronto proper, like, it always commands a lot of attention. And what realtors have been doing, because it's been more of a buyer's market, what they've been doing is listing properties well below market value. And we call that your marketing price. The sellers would never accept it. So for example, if your market value of a home was $1 million, you would list it like something ridiculously low, like $599, $699, something.
$699.
I've seen like $400,000 below asking. And what that does is it just generates a buzz. It gets people in the front door, and then you have an offer date. Now, that seller would never accept that marketing number. It's a marketing number.
It just gets people going.
It just gets people going. And that's also because what happens is emotions get involved, and then people remove conditions, and it's just one of those things that happens, right? And but in the past, when the market was really hot, this marketing number, what it did, it generated a buzz, but a lot of people were so enthralled, and they got so committed into this bidding war that we would see multiple times that people would overpay and because they get caught up in the heat of the moment. Well, that's not happening, right? Right now, we're seeing the houses, like there's that one in Mississauga, had 85 offers on it. It was just a $799.
There was like a line out there, right? It looked like they're like a pair of Jordans just dropped.
Exactly. And it ended up selling for market value, $925, right? Or $950, I think it was, something like that. But that was the market value of the home. Now, granted, the agent did a good job because he sold the property in a quote unquote buyer's market. But now you're telling me now, because there's buyers out there, that there's no more buyer's market. I'm like, well, no. And again, so this article then goes on and says, well, then it's using statistics, what he means by buyer's market. But again, it was never roaring back. In January, I had listings we had listings which were sitting, we were barely getting showings. So how can you say that, it's even an equal, and our price, and our homes weren't priced high. So we weren't overpriced.
Yes.
So that's the other caveat.
Yeah.
If you get no showings, that means you're overpriced, right? That's just the way it is. But that wasn't the case. We were getting some showings, but it wasn't like, I wouldn't say it's an equilibrium market. So anyway, my point is, it was funny because as a realtor, a busy realtor, I didn't feel that it was roaring back by any stretch of the imagination. I felt a tide is turning.
Yes.
But that's typical because it's January. And then you're comparing, and the other thing is the article goes and compares to what we did last year.
I'm curious, when we hear buyer's market, seller's market, the definitions of those terms, right? What constitutes a buyer's market? Yeah.
So there's a couple of things. Well, according to this article, which I don't use this stat, is that sales to new listing ratio is now at 50%, meaning the GTA is in a balanced market, right? Anything below 40% is considered a buyer's market, which we don't use that definition. We use something called months of inventory.
Month of inventory, okay.
Yeah. So anytime you see a stat, and most realtors will talk about this in some sort of their reels, it's a good catching thing, and it's what they're taught. And I find the definition it's changed. So what we do with months of inventory, and I'm going to bring up a little monthly stats over here, which shows the last 12 months. And months of inventory, what we do is we take the number of active listings at the end of the month and divide it by the number of sales, and it'll give you a number. And that'll give you the months of inventory stat. And that stat, what it is, it's supposed to tell you what type of a market you're in, right? So in the past, it was like anything less. So sorry, the idea behind this stat is that if no new listings came to the market, and if the sales continue to trend the way they were in this past month, how long would it take for the inventory to sell out? Right? So think about it, right? So, and this kind of says, so if you had, for example, if you had 10 sales, 10 active listings, and there was 2 sales in the month, like 10 divided by 2, 5 months of inventory, that would take 5 months for you to sell that out.
Yeah.
Just in simplistic form.
Gotcha.
Or if it's 10 divided by 5, that's 2, right? That's 2 months. So if the trend continued, 2 months. So basically what we use is like, anything under 2 months worth of inventory, which we've seen when the market was hot, like we saw a 0.8 in some situations, that means you're in a seller's market. And a seller's market is exactly what it says. Like, by the time you put up a for sale sign on your home, there's a lineup of people, and that's basically what we experienced the last couple of years. When I first got into the industry, what we were told is anything more than 4 months of inventory is a buyer's market. Now I've heard the definition changed to about 3 months worth of inventory. Right. So, 3 months. So basically your equilibrium is between 2 and 3 months worth of inventory. And again, it all depends on people's stat, what they use for. So if you do the traditional sense, anything then more than 4 months, well, if you look at the 12 months, we were in a buyer's market for September, October, and ish in November. Basically in December, we were down to 3 months worth of inventory. So by definition, like the traditional definition, we were in an equilibrium market in December, which I would not say that. I would still say we were in a buyer's market. So that's why I think by definition, it's more of a 3 months. I use the 3 months
thing.
Yeah, I use 3 months.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
does that make sense though?
It definitely makes sense, right? So when the media is reporting this inaccurate information, right? What is their main objective here all the time? Because it seems like they're either trying to scare you or trying to shift the market in some sort of way. I don't know, maybe there's some higher powers acting about them, telling them, hey, can you write this?
Oh, that's conspiracy.
Conspiracy, right? And people like, let's say me as a regular guy here who doesn't really find the time to go look at the monthly sales data to really get information. And I'm just like, let's say a married couple living in a condo, looking to buy a house. They're not really going to go do the research.
No, and most people don't. Most people don't even read all of the article.
Yeah.
So that headline we just said was pretty catchy, and people like I know, granted, probably my client that sent that to me, I don't even know. I'm like, did you actually read the article?
Yeah.
And I needed an answer to that. So I knew the answer to that. Because if you further read into it, it was, the article talks about certain things. They use certain stats and they skew them, right? And so, for example, we had 37% more sales this year compared to last year.
Yes.
Well, 2023, we had the least amount of sales we've had since 2000. That's in 23 years, the least amount of sales, under 66,000 sales in 2023.
Yeah.
That was a hard year. When you compare that to like 2021, where we had over 120,000, like it was almost double, right? Yeah. So anyway, I was just like, whoa, hold up here. And I'm like, and again, we educate our clients by explaining what the media does, right? So I believe the media is a tool of the government in the sense that they are. They always are. They're always, it's some sort of propaganda. I know this gets into our conspiracy theories, but think about it. When the market was really hot, it was ridiculously hot. People were like selling so much above asking. The government needed to do something to slow it down. And the media kept saying, oh my God, prices are getting out of control. They're not going to be sustainable. Be wary of buying in this market. They were trying to get you to put fear tactics into you, trying to slow down the market. Kind of worked a little bit, not so much, right? The Bank of Canada ultimately did the damage.
Yeah.
And then when the market dropped and it was terrible, so it says back when the market was so hot, they're saying to people like, oh my God, your kids are not going to be able to afford a home. Be careful. Like the market's going to, it's too hot. They were pumping that the market's going to crash. The market's going to crash. And they wanted that to scare people. Now in reverse, right? When the market was still kind of, hot like that. And then now it's doing the opposite. Now they need to get people back into the market because last year we only had 66,000 sales. They need real estate to be going again.
They need it going.
They need it going again because I think it was my Jason Pereira was saying, so my financial planner, a great friend of mine. If you haven't seen his
great
episode,
energy, man.
Great energy.
Great
He's
episode.
Awesome. Jason.
Yeah.
I think he sent me a stat a couple of years ago that in Canada, over 80 to 90% of all jobs in Canada are somewhat related to real estate.
80?
It's over 80%. Think about that.
Got realtors, got mortgage brokers, we got bankers, financial planners.
Keep going.
We got
Construction workers.
We got commercial property buildings and everything like that.
Yeah. What about things like Home Depot?
Home Depot, cleaning.
Keep going. Everything.
Everything's related to real estate.
Everything is related in Canada. Like even things like building lumber, for example, lumber, right? Obviously, that's has a factor. Whether you're manufacturing glass or metal,
landscaping,
pools. Like I don't know. The only thing that's pretty much not tied is maybe education, but education is tied into real estate too because there's education in real estate. So that blew me away. So when they tried to slow down their market because they're worried about inflation, if they hammer the real estate in the GTA or in Canada, let's call it.
Yeah.
That helps control some of the inflation if you think about it that way. But the caveat to that is that when they increased interest rates have a direct effect on inflation. The number 1 and 2 culprit were mortgage costs and rentals have all gone up. So that increased inflation. So if they bring interest rates down, like that should help with inflation. Right? But they won't bring interest rates down just yet because they're worried about our Canadian dollar.
Yeah.
So we finally got this last month in January, we got our inflation numbers below 3%. We're at 2.9%. So it's an indication that maybe the Bank of Canada will move, hopefully. But again, that's all what we are hearing in the past. They're still waiting for the Fed to go first. The Fed is in a growth period. The Fed so we can't follow suit directly because we're just in a different economy. We're flirting with recession. They're in a growth period. If we move too quickly, they're scared that it's going to affect our Canadian dollar and it'll weaken our Canadian dollar and it'll weaken our economy.
Yeah. On that side of things, when I was looking more into this buyer's market and everything, one of the key things that some of these articles were saying that buyer sentiment isn't really going to change, regardless whether they think the rates are going to go up and down. People are in this mode of like, let's wait and see. So the prices might drop, but they're thinking, it might even drop even more. It might go up again. So regardless how this thing is moving, people are in this kind of amber, should I go? Should I not? Should I go? Should I not? Right? So what is your view on buyer sentiment, right? Because we know the mortgage rates are high, which is suppressing demand, population increase, construction price is going up and up and up. How do you see this changing over time? Like
buyer sentiment in general?
The buyer sentiment in general.
So first off, let's go back and say like what the article talked about. It said, even though we had 37% increase in sales, our average price went down 1%. So buyers are seeing that right now. So it's sending a signal to them as well. There's more people in the market. Last year, we only had 66,000 sales. There's pent up buyers out there waiting. So now with the inflation numbers coming in below 3% and the anticipation that the Bank of Canada will decrease their rates, what will happen when they decrease their rates? It's like adding fuel to a fire to our market, right? That's what we're anticipating. So when I'm talking to my buyers right now, we're all getting pre-approved as much as they can. They're updating their numbers. They're looking right now. When I was away, for the 9 days, I think I had 3 or 4 of my buyers saying, okay, I think we're getting everything ready to go when you come back. So from my buyers, they know what's happening. If you can purchase now, you're still getting a better price now than it will be in the spring market. And the reason why I'm saying that too, I think we're all anticipating a very, very active spring market. Even Natalie, like when we're away in February, usually February is not as busy for her. Her and her partner for staging were like bombarded. So agents are getting their homes ready for sale, which also means there's going to be more product. But one of the reasons why our buyers haven't purchased was that a lot of sellers were scared to list their properties in this market because they're scared about the price because they thought they were getting less. But the indications we're getting is that more sellers put houses in the market, which means my buyers now have something to buy. The sentiment I was getting last year was, we're pre-approved, even though we can afford this, but there's shit on the market right now. There's nothing that we actually like. So there's a lot of things pointing that this market's going to be hot, and buyers are now getting on board, realizing I don't think it's going to get much lower. So the Bank of Canada was also scaring us. Not the Bank of Canada, sorry. The media was also scaring us a little bit, saying, we have something like 20% of people are going to be renewing their mortgages this year. So if they can't afford to, like, there could be a catastrophic drop in the market, right? There could be, the market could crash.
Yeah.
But it hasn't. Like last year, we had 12 or 15% of mortgages renew and nothing really happened. They increased the interest rates twice. So I don't believe there's going to be a crash. So those people that are waiting for a crash are going to be left behind.
Yeah.
I kept saying, if you're looking to buy, I was saying in November, December, January, February, you should be buying. If there's something you like, don't buy just to buy.
But if you like it.
You like it, obviously. Yeah. It has to be something you like. And my clients that listened to me, I had 3 of them, like in December and January, they bought, they're ecstatic. The prices have all gone up. They're ecstatic right now.
Yeah.
And they are, because they listen. But I'm not saying my other clients didn't listen. The problem was that some of my clients have a home and they need a certain type of product to come out in order for them to purchase. And that just didn't happen. So like one of my clients is looking up to $3 million and in the Etobicoke area, not too far from me. And there really hasn't been anything in the $2.5 to $3 million. It's 4-bedroom and it's nice. And it's like a minimal amount of work. It sounds like a lot of money, but in reality, it's like nothing popped up in that range. So they didn't buy.
Yeah. And that you get people who are pressed and end up buying one of these condos with these weird floor plans, layouts, like their corners, their everything. I'm like, bro, I have one of my friends, he bought a pre-con, right? And he showed me the floor plans. I'm like, bruv, show me like the rendering, show me like the virtual, like everything they've done to really make you buy this thing. And I'm looking at it, and like when you walk into the living room, you have like this big beam sitting like right, those big cylinders. I think it's like a corner unit.
Yeah, I have one. I know. There's one in my corner unit. Yeah.
I'm like, bro, you didn't have to buy this. Like, do you?
But they're on the floor plans. It's a little black circle that looks like this. So you got to know what it is. And it's a big fucking column right there. But it's usually situated where it's in the side. Where I've seen people use it to decorate it and put the
TV on it
and all that stuff. But hopefully he knew that was going to be there. As long as his agent showed him like this, you got to understand this is going to be right in the middle of your floor plan.
I'm telling you, he doesn't even like it anymore. I'm like, bruh, like this is your first property and
I'll sell it for him.
You'll sell it. It's
Give me my number.
It's where does he live?
See, always looking to sell. Always looking to sell.
Always looking to sell. Yo, you're always ready to do business, man.
Always.
What I was getting to is that if we understand that this is the way buyer sentiment is, what is that variance in percentage between it increasing, let's say the price increasing and decreasing? Let's say if I'm looking to sell or like looking to buy, what is it that I'm looking to get under, like in savings wise? Is it like 50K? Is it 40K? Like when the price increases.
I have no idea what you're asking me. What is say? Ask me
what I'm saying is this: is that
do you understand what he's asking, Isaac? He's not even listening. Okay, so
what I'm saying is this: like people are in this wait and see moment. Right. They're thinking the price is going to drop. I might get below asking. And I might get below market value. What is it, like 100K? Is it 50K?
That all depends on people. Like at the end of the day, those people will never be happy because they're always going to wait for the price to drop. They're always looking. They're trying to time the market. And Chris Slidham, our head of Royal LePage Signature, always says this way. It's like, you can't time the market. It's to time in the market. Whenever you buy, you should always be a longer term plan for that property. Yeah. If you hold on to the property, even if you overspend in today's market and you hold on to it for 5, 10, 15, 30 years, it's going to be moot. You've made money on the property and it's true, right? So I find those people trying to time the market, the ones, never act. And they're always the ones going, I should have, I could have, I should have. And they never, ever maximize. So there's no dollar value on that whatsoever for them that's going to make them happy. Because I've had clients that bought and they've made $1 million on their property in 3 years. And they're still saying to me, did I overpay? And I'm like, we got it market value. Like you were ecstatic when you bought the property. We got it below market value. The appraisers came in, they told you got a steal on the property and they're still not happy. It's people's nature. Also be careful too. Like, so I want to make one comment on what you're saying for your pre-construction, buddy. Guys, if you're buying pre-construction, you close on a property, right? Even if you're moving into it personally. So if you're moving into personally, you don't have to pay an additional HST. Okay. If you're using it as an investment, you're going to have to pay an HST. I believe it's still capped at $26,000. So if you're using it as investment and you have to pay additional $26,000 on closing, what you do is that if you rent out your property, the government regulated lease for up to a year, your accountant or wherever you can file for online, the government will give you a rebate back, sometimes up to 20, not all of it. You don't get all of it back, but you get a large portion of that back. But here's the caveat I'm giving to your friend. Whether you move into it personally or you rent it out for the year. If you sell that property within a year, if it's an investment property, you have to pay that HST rebate back, all of it. So goodbye. The second thing is, it's no longer if you move into personally, you get taxed on that 100% of the income you make on it. Whereas an investor, if you hold on to it for after a year, then you only pay capital gains. Capital gains is 50% of the income. So for example, you bought a property, $500,000. If you sold it for $700,000 and the income, so I'm just making it easy because there's expenses up to, let's just make it easy. That $200,000, then if you sell within the year, that gets added to your income and you get taxed on that. If it's after a year, that $200,000, 50% of it, only $100,000 gets taxed on your income. So if you make $100,000 a year, if you sell within the year, now you're filing a tax if you made $300,000 as opposed to $200,000 after the year. So be very careful. If you're buying pre-construction, you're selling within the year. I tell about most of my clients that have bought pre-construction with other agents and they've come to me. And I tell them that. I'm like, okay, we were thinking about selling. We really don't want to hold on to this property. I'm like, whoa. If you do sell it, here's what you have to do. They're like, what? Nobody told me this. And I'm like, well, you didn't use me before to buy the property. First of all, I would have told you there's a couple of these properties I would have told them not to buy. But I'm the one having to rent them now because they were trying to sell them. I'm like, okay, just to let you know, you're going to take a huge hit on this. And it's like, are you okay to lose money? And now the market had changed from what they bought it for. And then so they would lose. So that also can help you, I guess. If you lose money, I guess. So if you lose 50,000, you make 100, now you're down to 50,000. Like, maybe that's part of your strategy, but that's not a good strategy. Not a good strategy. You don't buy properties to lose money. I'm sorry. You just don't do that.
I know we're getting close to wrapping up, but you as a realtor, this news is going to continue. It's not going to stop. They're going to keep publishing.
No, they're trying to dictate the people that don't listen. And it helps, believe it or not, it curbs people's mentality. I've noticed the shift since that article came out. When I came back from vacation, it's a frenzy. It's like people are like, oh, they're listening.
Because I was going to ask you, how does this impact you and your business?
It impacts me. I get more phone calls. Hey, I saw this article, and they're all talking about the same thing. So it impacts us as realtors. We're like, we have to educate our clients and say, like, what do we do? We're like, whoa, hold on, right? Like, and I was going to do that. I was going to do my live feed, with the green screen, do my minute and a half. But I was on vacation, really. You weren't in the right men's space, and I had too many tequilas. So it just, you know what I mean? It was, I could have done with a cigar and a tequila, and maybe would have got more views on it. But at the end of the day, it's like, when something comes like this, it's a shock value. It does curb people's mentality because, again, not everybody's reading the article. And some people maybe reading the article may not understand it. I'll be honest with you. They just don't get it. So they'll call me and I'm like, here's what's really happening. Right? Even something as simple as the new TRESA rules, of which are, there might be open bidding. And I had one client call me and goes, okay, what is this going on? So I'm like, well, it's actually kind of good for you. Here's the new rules. And they're not looking, they may be looking this year to buy and sell. He goes, actually, that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, if you're selling, you could use the new rules as open bidding process. You can use them, you can use them, you can change your mind. Here's how it affects you. He goes, well, I just thought it was bullshit. And I'm like, well, yeah, it could be. The way that they first proposed the open bidding process was bullshit because the way they had it, I guess, a realtor was every party had to agree to have this open bidding process. And if the seller why would the seller choose to do it? Blah, blah, blah. It just didn't make sense. The way the new rules are is like, if there's multiple offers, a seller at any point can disclose any particulars of the offer if they choose to. And then they can change their minds afterwards. So for example, if you had 5 offers and the beginning it said everything is a blind bid, which means between all 5 parties, nobody knows any particulars of the offer. Particulars could be price, closing date, deposit, conditions, etc. Right? So a seller can change their mind saying, we're having a closed bidding process. Then after they got all 5 offers, said, you know what, 3 of these guys might be closer. Let's disclose the top number. And they can write a direction. So I could let all the agents know exactly the same information saying, hey, just to let you know, the seller has decided now to disclose the highest price. And if you want to continue to compete, and they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the buyers can also retract their offer. I put a clause in there saying we have the ability to retract in case you do this. But to say they do it and everybody continues to go and everyone gets an offer, the next round, say there's another round and say two people are close and say, the seller can say, I no longer want to disclose anymore. Mm-hmm. They can change their mind. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling the seller, this is actually to your benefit. Mm-hmm. You can choose on the fly what you want to do. Mm-hmm. So the article scared people a little bit. I had to reel them in. I'm like, this actually benefits you if you're selling. Mm-hmm. So again, it's all about the education. So I always tell people the media, same thing with everything else in the media, take it with a grain of salt, talk to an expert. Don't listen to whatever the author, what do you call the columnist, what a journalist. So I had a brain fart. Because the journalist is not in the trenches. They're not the ones dealing every single day with this shit. They don't even ask us half the time. Yeah. They just go with the stats.
There's no interviews. Like, there's no, hey, we spoke to a realtor from Royal LePage signature, and this is what
sometimes they do. And then, but some of these agents, I'm like, who the hell is this guy? I'm like,
and do you look at them? Do you look at how much they sold and like see like what they're?
No, I don't go too deep into that. Maybe I should start doing that and say,
hey, what's your credibility like?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, exactly. Who are you?
J&J from ABC Realty said this. I'm like, good for you. I know we're way past time, aren't we? Isaac's looking at his watch, going, okay, we need to wrap up.
That was interesting. That was interesting to see. So, closing remarks. Or, you know what I was just thinking? Like, you're like a therapist when you get these kind of texts and messages. You have to like calm down emotions. You have to talk to people. You got to be like, yo, relax.
We're marriage counselors. Everything. We're everything. You know, we're best friends sometimes. I literally know things that like other families don't know. Like I know when my couple's pregnant before they've told their families half the time, because like, okay, we're looking for a house, but we don't want to say anything to our family because we're pregnant. I'm like, holy shit, you gave me this information before you give it to your mom and dad. So yeah, we're as realtors too, like we're there to help because we're part of your everyday life. So we're part of your journey. Like you need us as well. But a good realtor is more than just a realtor. Like they can be your friend, they can be like a therapist, they can be a marriage counselor, they can do all that kind of stuff too. That's why I find when you do all that, you need to share this information with us because that'll help us make a better decision, help us together make a better decision for you. Mm-hmm. When you withhold information from your realtor, you're not helping yourself. Mm-hmm. Right? You're just not because they're not really going to get what the product you really need.
So you got to be honest.
You have to be honest.
Yeah. Great way to close out the show, DC. If you enjoyed this episode or you'd like to learn more, make sure to hit up DC at DavidV_Realtor on Instagram. Send him a DM if you want to unpack more about this information. Lastly, don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts and also leave a rating on Spotify. One more thing, subscribe to David Chinelli, Realtor on YouTube. Help our channel grow. Comment, subscribe, like, share, the whole lot. You know where to find us. And we'll see you next week for episode 62. DC, who do we got coming up?
You. I think we're doing you next episode.
We're doing me next episode?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. So we got me coming up. I thought we had a guest. But yes, we'll see you next episode. And we'll be ready to unpack some interesting theories David and I have coming up. And I think you're going to really enjoy this episode of what's coming up next and what the future holds for us. Owen Osinde, my main man. DC. And we'll see you next week. Peace
Bye,
out.
everybody. Ciao.